Josh, welcome back to This Is Horror Podcast.
Yeah, it is good to see and hear you two again. Hello.
Yeah, the last time was 9 months ago when you and I were talking about the high strung and we were talking about all those crazy stories and the van man. What? I saw pictures of it the other day you posted on social media.
Yeah, we were in a thing like can you imagine imagine like parking that at your dad's house and you're like like when you're in town you're like, "Can I leave this here when I, and he's like, yes, and he was like, "Could you actually put it close to the neighbor's yard because he doesn't like his neighbor?"
Yeah. Yeah, but probably, I mean, I'll always ask about the biggest changes professionally and personally since we last spoke. But the big event for you right now is the release of Incidents Around the House, which I just finished less than an hour ago. I wrote on X that I wanted to have it kind of in my mind, in my heart, let's say, as close to recording this as possible. And man, I'm so affected. Like, it is the scariest book that I've read in a long, long time. I had a visceral reaction to it. And it's one of those books where you feel that you know where it's going to go, or you know what type of scare it's going to go for. And then it keeps basically showing you that you don't know shit. You don't know what's going to happen at all. And yeah, it crept up on me. And particularly, I mean, after there's an incident with a guy called Brian, so I can say that without spoiling
Yeah.
anything. After the incident with Brian, it just goes absolutely nuts and it scares you, it affects you, it removes all safety and innocence in a way that you did not expect. Jesus Christ, Josh. Where did this come from? Let's go back to the origin, the genesis of Incidents Around the House.
So I've had the idea for some, geez, maybe like 13 years, and my not and it's not it wasn't like it was a Rubik's cube idea that I was trying to work out. It was just it's been with me for a while, and it started, and this probably makes a lot of sense. It started with like something my brother's kid said to him. You know, I mean, the book almost feels like it's one flash of that, I think. But anyway, it was something that and it's been with me forever. And then Allison and I had a cat pass away, and we came home and we were both pretty freaking emotional. And Allison started painting a mural of the cat on the wall, like in the foyer. And I was like, well, if she's writing on the walls, and so am I. And I outlined incidents around the house on the office wall, like right over the computer. I can see it right now. And I was like, okay, fine. Let's both jump into our work or get creative or whatever. I've had this idea forever. You know what? And then I wrote that outline out, and there was one line. It's the first line here. I can just read it to you. It says, "Can an 8-year-old narrator?" The wall is kind of far away. Can an 8-year-old narrate an entire novel without ever being unreliable? And that was the part where I was like, man, I want, yeah, you know what? I might want to get started on this right away, because it became like a rule for me that this isn't we're not spending any time with an imaginary friend. We're not let's not spend any time with, like, nobody believes Bella. She's not lying, she's not crazy, she's not making up. Bella is true. And once I like saw that prism, I was like, man, this could be really scary if we both fully believe this kid telling us this story, as opposed to spending, 2/3, and then, oh my God, she's right or something. Like, no, let's right from the word go. This is reality, and it's not great.
Yeah, and I think having the story told from Bella's perspective, it really had an almost experimental feel, particularly without using, speech marks. And so you're just getting everything kind of presented from her head. And I mean, it almost gave it, for me at least, a found footage feel. Like we were reading something we almost weren't meant to be reading, but it had been recorded secretly.
That's amazing. I think the not maybe not to get too technical, but I think that the key to not cheating her narration was that it was present tense. Because if it was past tense, for her to repeat everything Daddo and Mommy said, you'd be like, how does she remember it all? But present tense, we don't even know how much of this is sinking in, but she's just hearing it. And so are we. So Daddo can talk for an entire, you know, page while he's drunk sitting on the end of the bed, or mommy can reveal a lot sitting on the same end of the same bed. Um and we're like a window to what she's experiencing, rather than her saying, and then Daddo said all this, and we're like, so I do think the present tense like helped her like keep her narration true.
Yeah, and I'm wondering as well, to go back to you saying that you outlined it on the wall in the very office that you are sitting in right now. I mean, how do you think that creatively affected things? Because, I mean, from what you said before, this is not your normal method of doing things. Do you think that played a part in terms of not just the presentation of the story, but the mindset?
Yeah, like for one, hadn't planned on writing it until Allison starts painting on the wall. For two, wrote the outline above the office closet. Didn't realize that till later. The closet is facing me. And the biggest one, though, the biggest change was, as you both know, I listen to horror soundtracks every time I'm writing, and I have this all the collection, and so I'm going through at first, like, okay, what am I gonna, Danny Elfman's way too playful, and this felt too like, and another one felt like too right on the nose, like it's so scary, and and I was like, hey man, why don't you try writing a book to silence? Like, Josh, have you ever tried, like, I've written 40 now. Have you ever tried one to just nothing? It's nighttime. The house is dark. I would like turn off all the lights. No sound in this office at all. Writing this book. And I feel like the characters in this book are in a musicless situation. I feel like when I was started rewriting it, I was like, man, there's a cold wind blowing through this book, and do not shut that window. Whatever you do, Josh, don't shut that window. The closest thing that I can relate it to with maybe two of them, Carpenter's Farm and Bird Box, because I think that Bird Box has almost a single note through it all, a single hum the same note could go through every chapter. This one, it's almost like the same gust of wind can go through every chapter. And I think Carpenter's Farm has a bit of that too. But it was a really bizarre revelation for me because, as you know, I love writing to music. And so I was like, at the end of this one, I was like, oh man, there were times where I left the office to go find Allison in the house, like to be like, hey, how you doing? And then she would be like, are you freaked out right now? I'm like, oh, no, no, no. I was just wondering like what you're up to. But yeah, I was totally freaked out, man. I'm in like a silent room, and other mommies talking to Bella, and you know popping up from this where the space between the bed and the wall, and like stuff like that, and I was just like, oh man, yeah, hey Allison, how you doing? So the process was different in its suddenness, in its lack of music. I mean, just those two things alone were like, wow, okay, let's do this.
And how long did it take you from beginning to write it to finishing that initial draft? And I'm wondering because from what you said, I mean, it was not just a scary experience for us to read, but pretty scary for you to write, and no doubt anxiety inducing. So, did that affect the pace? Did you almost want to finish it quicker because you want to get out of the situation?
I don't know. I don't know. I will say this. The writer Ross Jeffery, so he and I talk on Twitter, and he was about to start a book, and I was about to start a book. This one. Well, it was really must have been the next day after I wrote this outline that him and I talked about this. And then we were like, hey, let's send each other every 10,000 words of what we're working on. Right? So his was the book, I Died Too, but they haven't buried me yet. And mine was Incidents Around the House. And I got to tell you guys, that's another element that was different was that it almost felt a little performative. Like I knew I was sending these 10,000 words to a fellow author when I reached the next chunk. And that almost kind of like, not that you get lazy with rewrites otherwise or something, but there was something there of like, okay, you better be sharp. You're sending this to like a friend when you're done. And if this next section sucked, well, fuck. But, I mean, it is just a rough draft. But I think that sort of like upped both of our rough draft game or something also. So there was a sense, I wouldn't say trying to finish it as fast as possible, but there was, just like Bird Box and Carpenter's Farm, there was like a sense, like I knew like every day I was like, I wasn't worried about running into a wall or a any sort of roadblock or writer's block or anything close to that at all. It just kept coming out the whole time. Partly because of scenes like the one you mentioned about Brian, where it was, I guess I'll just say this, where I felt completely okay to just take a sharp left turn.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, like it's called, I was talking to my friend James on the phone and he's like, what's this one about? Or what's this one called? And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. It's just a bunch of incidents around the house right now. And I was like, oh, no, that's it. That's it. Sorry, that's it. And he's like, what? And I'm like, no, that's the title. It's incidents around the house. That's exactly what this is. And like, so something about even the title alone like freed me up where it was like, hey man, like they don't even have to be necessarily, well, they're all related to Other Mommy, but it can be they go to Amanda and Dan's and here's a friend that you expect to be like fully supportive and they're like, actually, you guys are kind of scaring us, man. Can you guys find somewhere else to stay? And that's like, there's something realistic in that, right? Like, I don't know about you, but if I had a baby and a wife and two friends came over with that story, I don't know what I would do, man. I want to believe that I would be like, yeah, stay here. But I think all night I'd be like, oh man, Allison, did you hear that fucking story? Yeah.
I think, like,
Mm.
having the baby, you're going to be protective of your baby. That is going to be your number
Yeah,
one concern. So, I mean, if anyone's inviting something into your house that could put your
right.
child in danger, then, you know, y they're really good friends and you want to help them, but it's like, "Can I help you from a distance? Because this doesn't feel like a good idea."
Yeah.
And
And,
also added to which, you're so bloody tired because you're a new parent anyway, like, you're not
right.
functioning,
And
yeah,
also
so
there's kind of that understated, how would you say this? Like, how like you just know when someone believes when they're telling you something. And I don't mean like a conspiracy theory, but like you, for whatever reason, you can almost even feel it in a tweet and online too, that certain things you can feel like the emotion. And I can imagine Daddo and Mommy, or Ursula and Russ coming over to my house and me being like, normally I might be like, you guys are crazy, but them coming over in that state, I think I would be like, wait a minute, maybe they did see something. Cause like you can feel the genuineness from someone when they like have gone through something. And I think so like I don't look for realism in any art. I don't look for it in my own books and anything that I'm watching. I could watch just a sock puppet make faces for 90 minutes. And I think that might be an interesting movie. But for some reason, Bird Box, Carpenter's Farm, and now Incidents Around the House, all three of those asked me this, and it said, let the scenario be quote unquote unrealistic, I suppose. I mean, it's a horror scenario, whatever it is, right? But for some reason, I wanted to see the characters react wholly realistic. And that was like the second rule in the outline was nobody knows what to do about this any more than Bella does. Not family, friends, Grandma Ruth, doctors, the church, a cultist, a ghost hunter. Nobody is going to, if you really walked into your daughter's room and saw other mommies sitting on the end of, dude, if I walked in and I saw that, I don't even know, because it would be so reality shattering. I don't even know that I would grab my kid first before I ran. I think I might run and then be like, oh shit, and go back and get the kid. I don't even know what I would do. And I wanted that sense of, I didn't want Russ and Ursula to be hapless. I wanted them to be a little bit hopeless though, and a little bit helpless. Like it's like like what the fuck are we supposed to do about this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
you hit every subtrope of this trope, if there is a trope, and subverted it. It's like the doctors, they don't know shit. Not to spoil anything, they go to the church and the church thinks they're fucking crazy. I mean, and I'm like, at that point, it's like there's so many. You're right. They're completely hopeless in
Yeah.
this, and it's
Even Lois.
devastating.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. All right. I mean, I hope that that's what it would feel like, is that after a while, there's like a loneliness to this book. And that's what I mean by that cold wind. It's like
Mm-hmm.
even Lois Anthony, she's probably the warmest thing in the book. And she's like, well, maybe we could try something. And that's a freaking disaster. Like, not to spoil anything, but
Yeah.
I mean, they go to Evelyn's house, a friend outside of the outskirts of Goblin. Great. Finally, somebody that's going to just let us spend the night. And then what can she do to help? I mean, it's just at some point, it's like, hey, Ross, hey, Ursula, like, we have to solve this on our own, but like, I don't know if we can. Yeah.
And this is why it's so scary because in the vast majority of other haunted house or haunted people novels, there are certain tropes, there are certain rules that the antagonist abides by. And this antagonist, this other mummy, refuses to. She says, no, we're not playing by the rules.
Yeah.
You know, I almost wish that I could spoil it, but we can't really. But I would say, like, a lot of satisfying horror books, it's going to percolate after you've finished reading. It's not going to be one where you've got all the answers. Some might argue you haven't got any answers, but it is a satisfying conclusion as a reader, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be comfortable. You might be haunted by images of other mummy the night after reading it. I don't know. We'll find out tonight for me because I've been thinking about her a lot, and every time I get up in the night, it's like, what's that in the shadows? It's weird. It's like the haunting is kind of happening off the page. This one has really tapped into my mind.
Oh, that's incredible to hear. That's like,
It's primal. That, I mean, to me, that's the only way to describe it. I can only, without spoiling this book, if you're listening to this podcast and you're on the fence going, I don't know if I should get it. I have a closet in my bedroom. Occasionally, sometimes every once in a while, I'll leave it kind of half open, especially if the cats ain't in here. Since reading that book, that closet door is fucking shut. Period. End of story. I have a curtain like in my bathroom that goes across the shower. Most people do. And I'm pretty tidy. I like to take the curtain when I'm done with the shower and move it all the way across to where the shower's, shut. I just kind of creep myself out just thinking about this. It's open now in case that way I won't imagine someone sitting in the tub when the shower curtain's shut. Okay. This is a week after reading the book. I have changed behaviors because of this book. I am not someone who changes behaviors on a regular basis. So this book has had a physical effect on me. Okay. I I I have been creeped out by books, but I've never been creeped out like I've been creeped out in this book. So yes, you did something there, man.
Man, this is like,
It's visceral and primal.
and you know, wow. I'm discovering, and again, like I told you, I've only talked to like 3 people so far about this book, and you guys. And it's almost like hard for me to talk about because you guys know usually I'm kind of like "Do-do-do-do-do-do," and like drinking and and I'm like I'll see like a tweet about how scary incidents is or something, and my instinct is to be like, oh my god, thank you, I love you, and I'm like, wait, hold on, shh, 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 shh. I don't want to I don't want to close that window. I don't want to close that window where the wind is blowing through this book, and I'm almost like afraid to be too like Mister energized while talking. Even right now, I'm finding myself being more reserved than normal around you two. Not hiding what I'm thinking, just in tone of voice. And it's like there's something solemn about this book. Like again, I think it's personally, I think it's the lack of music. I think that I hear everything inside in the house clearer because there's no music playing. And I can hear like we have cats. Oh my god! And I'm working on this book, and these cats are like walking down the hall. Remember, the house is dark, and Allison's either asleep or outside working on something. No music, just sitting here. Oh, even because of the light of the computer screen, I can't see the closet beyond it. I mean, I was like, there were some moments like Evelyn's house, like I had to leave the office. Yeah, I don't remember if you guys. Evelyn was the bigger house in Goblin. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I had to like leave the office, and I'm not saying I wrote the scariest thing ever, but I am saying like, yeah, it affected me.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think thematically as well, it felt like this was a continuation from both your exploration of the concept of hauntings in Half the House is Haunted, and then I almost felt the parents' relationship and their role had some commonalities between Doug and Judy.
Oh,
I
interesting.
don't know if these were things that you were consciously doing or that
Oh,
you
that's cool.
noticed too, but it felt like this is continuing to riff on this, and this is what we do as writers. We find these concerns, and then we want to explore them and see how far we can take it.
Yeah, it's totally interesting. I didn't think. I thought of. I didn't think of Doug and Judy. But that makes sense too. But I definitely thought of the other one. And Half the House is Haunted almost feels like a precursor to this now or something. And that was obviously totally unintentional. It was just like, oh, I'm gonna write this story and then I'm gonna write that story. And but there is a there's a bond there or something. And it was written right after it. Like right after it. Like Spin a Black Yarn and then right? Am I right? Spin a Black Yarn. No, Spin a Black Yarn, then Daphne expanded into a full novel, then Incidents Around the House. But still, same, yeah. It was written like right there, like a year within a year. And man, what a sandbox. And I gotta give Del Rey a lot of credit too, because they never pushed back on the weird formatting or the weird lack of quotes. Like that wasn't in their notes. Like they gave me notes back, but it wasn't that shit. And I was like, oh, all right, man. It looks like we got one through. It looks like we got like some interesting formatting through. It's like they understood that if an 8-year-old is telling us a story, maybe she wouldn't know or she would forget or just wouldn't think to use quotation marks. Even though she's not writing the book, it's still right. It's still, yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
Del Rey was like from the word go, I was, when I sent this to them, because again, Ross read it in installments and we were both really excited about each other's books. And so I had this one human being that had read that book before sending it to Del Rey. And then I was like a little bit like, what the hell are they going to think about this one, man? Like an 8-year-old and this and that. And they were amazing through the whole experience. They've been amazing.
yeah. And speaking of Del Rey, last week they sent me the audiobook files as well, so I could check
Oh,
out the audiobook.
I haven't, have
But
you listened to any of it?
yeah, yeah. So Okay, so as Bob knows, I am very critical when it comes to narrators, and they can make or break a book for me. And the narrator who narrates as Bella is so good and so effective that in in the kind of, let's say, the last 25%, there was so much emotion in her voice that I have not heard that much emotion in a narrator's performance before, that
That's
I was nearly crying. She was
that
so
is
good that I was
phenomenal.
feeling what she was
So
feeling.
how did this is funny. This is amazing. I love that someone listening to the podcast is gonna like. I'm asking you how the audiobook goes. Like
Yeah.
how like, how how was Other Mommy's voice?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Other Mummy was good. Other
It was
Mummy
good.
was
Okay,
good.
okay. Because in
Yeah.
the reading, Allison does Other Mommy, and she's taken this sort of like because as you know, Allison's a great singer, and she sort of modulates her voice in the reading. I can't do it, but it's like, "Hey, Bella, like,
Yeah, yeah.
Bella, it's you,
I
Bella,
heard
you." Like,
I
so I'm
heard
just
the
like,
yeah, the
"Bro, Allison,
first
that's
part of
creepy, man."
the conversation you did with Rob Olsen. I
Yeah,
listened
so
to the
you were right
Oh
first
yeah,
part.
yeah. We heard
And
her
so
do it on there.
Allison shows up, and yeah, it's goodness, it's so kind of disquieting because it's like an inhuman voice. It's kind of a robot or an android or
It almost
something.
sounds like Android. I know. Like she did it at the very first reading rehearsal, and right away we were all like, "That's it. That whatever the hell you're doing." Like I got the chills on my arm, Allison. Like that's it, you know. And so that's how
Yeah.
she does it. Yeah,
So
it's
it
funny.
was a bit of a different take in the audiobook. I guess in a way though, if it had been Alison doing it, it might almost stand out too much. I know that might be a bizarre thing to say, but it
No, no,
might
no. But
distract
yeah, I get
you.
it. Yep, I
Yeah,
understand what
but
you're saying.
s
That actually makes me feel better. So but either way, you felt good about Other Mommy.
yeah, yeah, I felt good about Other Mummy, and I thought, from the parts that I've listened to, because I haven't listened to the full audiobook, but I've listened to parts of it, and I thought, goodness, this is I mean, it's the best performance of an audiobook I've listened to this year. And,
This is incredible. I'm gonna tell them that you said that. I'm gonna write that to Del Rey. They're gonna be like ecstatic. And then they're gonna be like, "Have you listened?" But I haven't got the file yet. I didn't even like so. Okay, one more thing is Daddo. Wow, God, I love Daddo. Like, there's a few characters. Again, I've written 40 novels now, and obviously I love them all, and I have a whatever relationship with all the characters, but there are a few that come along that you don't even feel like you're writing. Mallory for sure was like that. I think Carol was like that. Um Daddo is like that for me. Like it was so easy for me to write him. I didn't even have to like think about what he would I wasn't even thinking about what he would say next. And that doesn't mean that I'm him because he seems a little like I don't know, more a little looser than I am or something. Like I don't smoke grass and well, I mean I do it here and there, I guess, but he's at the party making jokes, smoking grass with his friends and like and I am an optimist, but he's really trying to be an optimist in this book. I mean, he's trying, you know. And but oh, you know who he kind of reminds me of is Tom from Bird Box. Like
Oh,
there's
yeah,
clarity
yeah.
like there or something like Daddo's kind of our like what if once we lose Daddo's hope, we're in trouble. And he was a joy to so how did she do his voice? Was it good?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody's voice was good, but Bella's was exceptional. That's
That's
the best way that I can put it. Bella was the standout, which is great because Bella is the main character.
yes. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, 100%. That all sounds wow, that's incredible. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. But
I'm gonna get this when I get my credits, or I already have my credits. When the book releases, I'm gonna do the audiobook and get to experience it again. I'm so fucking excited.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
no,
gonna do
you
that too. I think I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna, do, guys? I'm gonna fucking turn all the lights off in the office, and I'm gonna like late at night and no music, and I'm just gonna listen. I'm gonna play it and just sit here, and I'm gonna be like, ah.
It's
That
gonna
shit.
mess you up, dude.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, like there were bits where I couldn't listen to it with my partner about because I thought I'm gonna start crying or freaking out, and she's gonna wonder what the fuck are you doing? What are you listening to? This doesn't seem safe for you. So it's like I'm waiting for her to go to work or to go and do something so I can put it on again. I mean, with Daddo as well, like you say, he's so optimistic, he's so hopeful, and that there were parts where it's really affecting me because he seems so positive and like I'm a positive person, but I'm feeling like you're being too positive. It's not as good as you think it is. You need to temper this because it's going to crush you when reality hits home. That was kind of the hardest part for me about Dado. But I mean, particularly near the start of the book, there's some wisdom that we can really apply to our own life. So it's almost like in this horror story, you've got like a mini section of self help if you choose to read it that way. Try to stay as kind as long as you can. That is great life advice right there. And it's in this like scary as fuck horror story.
Yeah, because he's sitting at the end of the bed, like telling Bella, and then we're all like, "It's not just you two in that room, Daddo."
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to point out something that I thought was like give Kristen, my agent, credit for something, because she like suggested a different line, and she doesn't do this very often, but she did, and so it's the scene. Mommy is in Bella's bedroom, and I think Bella had mentioned something to the effect of other mommies either against the wall near the closet or kind of like something, her face is near where the ceiling meets the floor, whatever it was. And then mommy's like about to leave the room, and then she kind of looks back to that area, and I had her say, "Is someone there?" And then Kristen was like, "No, no, no, that should be, what am I looking at right now? What am I looking at here?" And I was like, "Oh, that is so good.
Oh.
What am I looking at here?" Because then you pictured less of like a face and more of like a presence. Like, Bella, what am I looking at over here? And I was like, "Oh, Kristen, that is so good." So yeah, I feel like there was, Ryan Lewis from the start. There was, from all of us from the start, there was this sense of like, let's try to keep this, whatever this is. Let's try to keep this what this is. The mood, the the temperature, which is to me fairly low. Like let's keep whatever this is, whatever notes we give. Let's not alter the essence of this book.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that line is so much more effective
No,
and
I
like you don't know how to deal with it, which is kind of the whole thing. It's like the unknown, the inability as to how to react, how to respond. And I gotta say one more note on the narration and the audiobook. And I just quickly looked this up. So because Bella's voice is so good, there was part of me that was like, is is it another narrator? Is this a multi narrator book? And I've looked up and according to the credits on Audible, no, there's just one narrator. And I almost can't believe it. I feel like there's a mistake because Bella is so distinct. And
This is great to
like
hear,
like
man.
I almost felt like, and I assumed they hadn't because of legal reasons and difficulties getting like working licenses, but I almost felt like, is there an actual child?
So
Did they just
I asked that in our first meeting for the book. I was like, I have no idea the rules, guys. Are we allowed to have like an 8-year-old narrate this? And they're like, no, we can't. That's no, that we can't do that. I don't know why that is, or I don't know what that is, but maybe that just sounds like an impossible task. Like, can you imagine a child having to read an entire novel, like word perfect and everything? So I don't know if that was the reason or if there's some labor thing. I have no idea. But they're like, no, no, we can't do that. So then they sent me a few options, and I always defer to them. I really do. Like, I'm like, which one do you like best? And he explained, this is why I like this one best. And I'm like, all right, then let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's like it's strange that you couldn't have like a child. Actually, like, sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole as we're talking, and I think the narrator might be 17. I think they might be 17
Oh, really?
from
Oh,
what I'm
that's
picking up now. Like I've found like I've put because I was like, what else has she done? So they got as close to a
yeah.
child narrator as possible, but I suppose yeah, it is strange that you can't have children as narrators if indeed you can't because we have child actors.
Right.
That's the thing.
That's why I brought it up with them. I was like,
Got
this
it.
sounds like a
But
reason.
now,
Yeah.
now, like we always come up with these weird concepts and ideas. Now I'm imagining if there was like a world or a story where you couldn't have child actors, so you've got like this. You know what? Right? This is ridiculous.
So
You
like
got
people
You'd
this
live
have, you'd
film,
have
and you got like 40-year-olds playing the children, and
can you imagine? Can you imagine Flanagan's The Haunting of Hill House if all of the flashback scenes were all adults playing the kids?
yeah, no, I love it. I
uh,
love this
God,
idea.
man. So it's a 40-year-old in a tree house. What the fuck is going on here?
I want someone to do something with this now. I
Yeah.
feel like I feel that there's an idea in this, and I'm also surprised that like I'm not drunk or stoned or something coming up with this and feeling so heavily invested. But this is 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning, but has to happen.
It feels like one of those like type of laws that the GOP would pass or something like that. You cannot have any kids in films anymore. So it's like you have everyone playing the kids roles are all adults now.
Oh,
You
hi.
know,
Oh, hi, you.
we're gonna
Oh,
protect the children.
here.
Yeah.
Why don't you come over here, buddy?
Uh,
Well, hold on. Get your tail down here first. There we go. Hey, Dewey. How you doing, buddy? You want
Here
to say
we
hi?
go.
that's the one who
Gotta
was creeping you out when you were writing this book, right
Oh,
there,
yeah. Dewey,
running
remember
around making all that racket.
incidents around the house? Remember that one? Yeah, you do remember that one. The house probably felt real weird to you then. Or maybe it felt normal to you then.
Yeah. So, do you think that you will permanently keep the outline on the wall? Do you think you
Yeah.
might get?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's staying there now.
I filmed a documentary recently of writing a novel from beginning
Yeah.
from conception to end, and I outlined that one on this other wall over here, and all that's on tape and everything. And there is a scene in the movie where I'm showing a friend this outline, and then she's like, "Do you always do this?" And I'm like, well, there's another one." And she like turns the camera, and there's incidents, and yeah, there's scenes in that movie of where I'm like, I have to take a break on the book I'm writing because I have to rewrite incidents around the house, and yeah, so it was cool because I don't think that I could have filmed the incidents experience. I think that would have been a bad idea. Whatever it was, and I couldn't have known that going in, but whatever it was so solitary, so alone. And then I would send Ross 10,000 words. And then to have had like a camera and like talking about the book, I think that was Incidents was not the right book to have filmed or to let people in on the process or something.
And when you and Ross were sending each other 10,000 words at a time, were you giving one another feedback? Or, I mean, yeah, because I imagine almost particularly with this book, that might have been dangerous because you are letting someone else in and like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But again, at first it was just like, well, that's the next book we're gonna write. And then really honest to God, between the she's always reliable and the not finding the right music for it, I feel like somewhere in there, the mood, like I was like, oh, I think I just chanced upon a mood. Like it was almost like an accidental discovery, not accidental, but it was like a discovery in the office or something.
Yeah.
I still feel
Yeah.
like I'm still trying, like, being more reserved than normal with you guys because I'm like, it's like,
Do,
what am I trying to remain scary or something? I'm like, I don't even like know what I'm doing, but yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, for me, this feels like your most horror novel, which might be a weird comment because obviously a lot of your novels are horror novels, but this almost feels like horror in its purest form. I don't know if that makes any sense or if it just sounds like, yeah, he definitely took an edible. What is he coming out with today?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm looking at them right now. I mean, Pearl is a horror novel. On This the Day of the Pig. Daphne. I mean, yeah, but I know what you mean. There's like this one has like you can almost feel like, you know how like a spider has like hair on its arms.
Mm,
Like you can almost feel the hair on the arms of this book.
yeah.
Speaking of hair, kind of possibly getting into influences or anything, but I not to be too spoilery, but I sensed a Asian horror influence.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
And there was a couple of the incidents were definitely to me felt very Ju-on
wow, this is great.
and a cat meows when I say that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Meow. Yeah. So, but I'm not saying, hey, this is where this is coming from, but I felt that. And Ju-on is one of the creepiest movies. Um,
Oh
and
yeah.
of course, The
Oh
Grudge,
yeah.
but and the reason why The Grudge is so good, it's the same director and half the cast, half the main cast is
Oh, I
The
didn't know
Grudge.
that.
Yeah, Raimi produced it, but he insisted that it was the same, director make the movie.
Wow, that's
So,
amazing.
and
You know, okay, well, I'll tell you what. I watched the original Ring recently,
mm-hmm,
and what struck me was that the like arc of scares or something that we're so used to, like the Western sort of like arc of scares, is that like you kind of know when something scary is coming in it, even in like our favorite horror movies, made like in America or whatever, right?
mm-hmm,
But watching a movie like The Ring, there were a few moments where I was like 100% not expecting that moment to have happened. It was like the movie was made to a different beat, was made to a
mm-hmm,
different internal rhythm, was made to a different cultural rhythm.
right,
And if we're gonna sit here and say that, the scariest thing is the unknown, well, how about the unknown of the actual rhythm of the scary movie you're watching and when a scare would come and how a director would deliver this, that kind of thing. So
mm-hmm,
I hope that Incidents has that thing that as well, which is, and I think again, it's funny that this Brian scene has come up 3 times, but it's true. It's like I think if I was reading Incidents Around the House, I'd be like, okay, Brian's here. He's gonna save the day.
mm-hmm,
He's gonna solve this. And it's not that it's no spoiler, I'm not saying he does or he doesn't, but it's just the rhythm of the scares or something. It's not
right,
like, okay, now like in a movie, it's like nighttime, we're like, oh, something scary is gonna happen, and then we're all like, phew, when it's daytime, when they wake up the next day. Got through the
mm-hmm,
first night of the movie, right? But movies like The Grudge, and they don't operate by that same beat.
right. No, they don't. I just now noticed this, but it seems like in Western films that there's a escalating. It has to keep rising.
Yep.
Whereas if you go into, especially foreign films, I don't give a shit about that. It's like, fuck, we're just scared the fuck out of you right now in 5 minutes. And I'm going to give you some other scares along the way, but I'm going to also let you get emotionally invested with your characters. And so the scares might not be as scary, but the stakes will be higher.
100, man. I love,
And you nailed it. That's
I love
exactly
this
what you
subject.
did
I had
in Incidents Around the House.
Man, thank you. I had a conversation with John Langan about this. We were on the phone and we were talking about how like we both made the mistake before of you have this like central scare in mind, and you're like trying to build up to it. And then we were on the phone, we were laughing. We're like, why not just use the scare and then come up with more scares? We were like laughing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's 100% true. And I think a movie that did that for sure would be The Witch, because you open with the whole like peekaboo thing with the baby. It's like early in the movie. And then when the girl like, and then the baby's not there anymore. And it's like, oh shit, something from the woods took the baby that I'm like supposed to be watching. And that was like early in the movie. And
Mm-hmm.
so what happens there, is there another moment that is scarier than that? No. But there, because that happened early, now you're like, okay, what is this movie capable of?
Mm-hmm.
What could happen to me here? I would even say Hereditary, that early scene where Toni Collette turns the light off in the work shed or whatever of hers, and sees like the faint outline of her mom by the shelf, and then she's like, "Ee," and turns the light back on, and she's not there. And
Mm-hmm.
that was like early enough in the movie where you're like, "Oh, dude, if they're capable of this, what else are they going to be capable of here?" And again, that doesn't mean that they top that scare. But if we're going to say the unknown is what's scary,
Mm-hmm.
that translates even to, wow, Dewey, you're really just going for it right now, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That translates as well to the actual like rhythm of what we're watching. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
Like
And
we don't.
Midsummer did it too. Midsummer shows its most horroring scene at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, exactly.
And
It's
the
the
rest of it is you're dealing with the emotional fallout of that.
yeah, yeah.
And to me, that's storytelling right there. So, but yeah, that's the man, the one thing, the hair on the finger at the end, that sealed the deal with me with the Asian horror. I was like, oh man, this is so fucking creepy because hair, like, if I saw something like that, I would point it out. Do you have a hair on your knuckle? You know that, right? It's
Yeah,
black. And it's like
yeah.
that's pretty gross. I'd remove that. I hate telling you. I'm not trying to be rude, but that creeped me the fuck out.
Yeah.
Oh
Amazing.
shit.
Amazing.
Do you think that going forward you will write another novel without music? Are you kind of clamoring to put the music back on and to get out of, the silent house for a bit?
So, God, I think I've written 4 books since Incidents. The one that I filmed, and then a nonfiction book, and then not don't imagine, please don't imagine me researching. It's about a night that Allison and I had about 12 years ago. That was just this profound freaking night, and the whole book is just that night. And then um after that was a book that I had wanted to write for a long time about a vaudeville troupe. And so I listened to vaudevillian music that entire time. That stuff's just naturally creepy, like even if it has no intention of being so. And then April 9th, so I finished, it's called The Frauds of Phantasma, is the vaudeville book. And I must have finished it on like April 1st or something. And then and it's a 500 pager. And then April 9th, I had an idea for a book. And I was like, dude, you just wrote, yay, come on, you just wrote 500 pages, man. You need to take a break. I sat down April 10th, and 17 days later, 300 pages later, it's done. And that one also had music. So I feel like there was, what's the right phrase? And I was listening to sort of just rock and roll during that nonfiction one. I feel like there's been sort of like a flurry of books since Incidents. But yeah, no, I would love to try to set that stage again. But also, like, it was a dark place to go to, like, emotionally, and like just the vibe in the office. And I mean, I felt like I was like had stepped over some line or something, that I was like looking in an area where I'm like, oh boy, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here, And then it was like, okay, but let's write everything down while we're here.
Yeah, I mean, you're known for your positivity and for your optimistic outlook. Do you think that in writing it, was some of that stolen from you, whether temporarily or permanently?
Wow, that is That might be the greatest question anyone's ever asked. Um, because isn't there something occult about that, right? Is there anything more occult than getting the spirit of the writer on into the rectangular box of a book? um, God, I hope not. I hope not. I do have a book about a guy who it was fearful that he was losing his optimism or losing his lust for life, and believe that an entity must be doing this to him, so he sets out to trap it. Essentially, it's a I don't suffer from depression, but essentially this guy is trying to trap depression, right? In his apartment. So I've written books before that maybe like harken to like the question you just asked, but Incidents like feels different, man. And there was almost like I almost wanted to write like Pee Wee's Big Adventure after, you know what I mean? I almost wanted to write like, hey man, what's like the brightest thing I can do right now? I mean, it was yeah, it feels like you're wearing like a darker shade of black, your jacket when you're writing that one. Yeah.
Well, this is why I wrote the book Daddy's Boy, which I told you about before, the kind of a lot of dick jokes, Joe R. Lansdale, Greasy Strangler kind of mashup after I'd gone through the darkest time in my life, after the custody battle, after the divorce, because I needed something. So, in a way, it's like I had to write that for me. And if other people like it, then
Yeah.
that's just a bonus. But
Yeah.
god damn, did I have a good time doing it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Roald Dahl's all over the place too. I mean, a lot of my heroes are, man, where it's like we don't have to stick to like the same whatever. Like, but but there something did happen with Incidents where like I want to touch that again. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like, but I want to touch that again. And I don't know how much of that is because of Bella's voice. I don't know how much of that is like the musicless nature that I keep bringing up. I don't know, but because no, because I think Carpenter's Farm is there as well, and I think Bird Box is close to there. But there's again there's that low hum of music in Bird Box. But yeah, I would love to try it again without trying to like outdo it or out scare you. You did this, so now we have to. Oh, we got to make something even scarier. No, don't think that way. Don't that. I think that's like fool's errand, like going that way or something. But I do feel like I was like shaking hands with something dark for Incidents, and I think I'd like to shake its hand again.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, I asked the original question because, as you pointed out, you're a little bit more reserved, if that is the right word, or apprehensive to talk about this one. The energy is on a bit of a different level from every other conversation. And,
Yeah.
I don't feel like, oh, that's it, Josh's optimism has
No, no, no,
gone. But
no.
there's part of me that's like, but if you dipped into that well enough times, what if you realized, shit, it's taking from me? It's like if I enjoy this dark place every 2 years, then I can get by. But if I become addicted to it, if I'm dipping into this every 3 months, then I realize I'm not just taking from it, but it's taken from me.
Yeah,
I
when
don't
I
know.
when I
Hmm.
started writing like finishing horror novels, I sent one to a friend named Maya, and she warned me about what you just said. I mean, this was 20 years ago. She was like, this is a great book, but I just want you to be aware, that if you're like, you're a horror fan and you're going to be spending all this time, like it could take from you as well, in exactly the way that you're describing it right now. No, I'm not. I think the fact that the Frauds of Phantasma is the most colorful book you can imagine. It's like Carol, like Unbury Carol, probably, and the one after that is a fucking batshit idea that I absolutely love. And if we were talking about that one, I'd be like losing my mind, raving right now. And so, no, I'm not worried. But you know what it is? You know how it's like, there's those like certain movies that like almost are like too dark for you to watch or whatever, and then you're like, oh man, I don't want to see that one. Or and sometimes usually those are because of a brutality or something like Martyrs or something like that, right? But at the same time, the next time you hear of one of those, you're like, yeah, probably am. I'll watch funny games. Let me see funny games, right? And while Incidents isn't brutal in that way, it's not like that. It's not a comparison in that way, but it is a different place. And yeah, I want to go back there. I want to go back there. I don't, not a sequel, not a similar scenario, but yeah, I want to go back there.
And see, it's occurring to me as well as we're talking that I don't think it's shifted, you, but when you talk about incidents, it's almost like you have to switch into this different mode because right at the start of the conversation, I mentioned, the tour bus, and we were in regular Josh Malerman mode for that topic. But the moment incidents was mentioned, it's like, right, we've got to have a bit of reverence or respect. I think it's respect almost for the subject matter and for other mommy and for what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it might sound like a weird thing for me to agree with but that's exactly how I feel. I feel like there's like a solemnity, there's a respect, there's sort of like not quite that we're at a funeral, but it's like I can't talk about this book bouncing off. I can't bounce off the wall and snort alcohol while I talk about this book. Like this is like, yeah, man. I saw some shit in this office.
Yeah, yeah, which I suppose lends itself to what are you going to do in terms of the promotion? And we know that you do a lot of kind of shows and performances. It's like you're never going to get just a regular reading from you. But because of needing to have this respect, has that altered the dynamic in which you've approached the show and the promotion?
Yeah, absolutely. It is tomorrow night, and it's in theater. And I don't think we've ever done a proper theater space. And a guy, Jim Byrne, scored the entire, like, it's an hour long program, scored the entire thing, including like original songs, and meaning that he wrote for the book and inspired by the book. Allison, as you heard, is doing Other Mommy's voice and working on tons of props right now. I mean, I wouldn't say that if I went to this, yeah, no, there's no question that this reading, because from the very beginning, when people were making suggestions, Allison kept saying like, no, nothing funny, nothing funny. Like no, I know nothing. No, that's funny and playful. If Josh is no, this one, there's nothing funny here. And it was like, okay. So I think there was from the whole troop a sense of like that same solemn thing. But
You
it's
think,
also really hard in a theater space to
yeah,
like, it's not as easy. I will say this, typically what we do is like 4 scenes that last like 10, 12 minutes each or something. But this one is like 10 scenes that are like 3 minutes each. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that it's like you're getting snippets of the book rather than like 4 like lengthy, like meaningful moments or something. Like we don't do Evelyn's house. There's no way we could do Evelyn's house on a stage and do it justice. There's just no way. But we do do the I'm sorry, shoot. Mommy is sitting on the end of the bed, revealing a lot to Bella, and Bella hears Daddo coming up the hall, and all that kind of like stuff. And I don't want to ruin this scene or whatever, but that scene's in there, and yeah, there is like a certain yeah, God. I hope that I hope everyone has a good time. I hope it's not like too like solemn. I always end up like I'm like it's impossible for me not to make jokes when we're like doing these things,
right.
because it is like we're reading from the book, and I'll be like reading what the book's about, and I'm like, wait, why do I have to read what my own book is about? Can't I just tell you what it's about? You know what I mean? But it's like so I just can't help it, man. It's
Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah. And I mean, not just from this conversation, but from our conversations over the years, it's so clear that, I mean, you and Alison, you have such a creative partnership, in terms of sometimes she will get parts of your vision, it would appear, in ways that you only unconsciously did. So then she'll not only tell you when to go further, but when to rein it back, when to cut out the humor.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the Bella doll that she made? And she built it from scratch, like from
I did not, but
Yeah,
I want.
I saw it online. It's
Where?
very
Where can
very
I see
creepy.
this?
here. I don't know if you can see. It never kind of works this way, does it? But here, let's see if it works. Can you
Let's
see that?
That is creepy.
see.
There's something
And it's
foreboding about that.
and
Even
she
more
You had her
foreboding
in the
for people
car
what.
too.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
had her in the car, and
yeah,
she like sculpted her face and everything with clay, and like and she has like elbow joints and like finger like hand like this is a pose of. I mean this kid looks pretty damn real when the lights are a little low and in the theater. Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Do you think during the writing that you anticipated that this was going to scare people as much as it blatantly is? I mean, it is not even out yet, and pretty much everyone who has read it is like, man, this scared the shit out of me, or this was the scariest book that I've read this year, and it seems to be consistently happening.
No, I didn't know that. No, no. Again, maybe I'm understating this when I keep saying this, and I hope it doesn't like affect people's reaction. But it was that decision of no music, man. And I
Yeah,
keep coming back to it because like that was a moment in this office where I've never done that. And I put on again. Danny Elfman was way too playful, even his darker stuff. And then Under the Skin was too alien. And then well, what else would I try? I tried something like Joseph Bashara was closer, like the Insidious like stuff, but even that was like too like there's like action dramatic sequences,
mm,
and like Bird Box was too like tempered and everything just I was like no, and then I'd be like, oh well, there's a there's a party scene, maybe you have like, and I'm like no, nothing, stop, just write this book, turn off the lights and write this book. Well, I'm gonna listen to the audiobook that way. I'm gonna freak myself out, man.
yeah,
So I got an email from like a fellow author that was like, and she was very excited about the book, and she goes, I hate these parents. And I was like, what do you mean you hate them? I get it. Of course I get it. And it's for the same thing that you were saying before about Daddo is like almost like, oh boy, like man, like, you're an optimist like in hell right now. And that even bothers Ursula, mommy, that element of Daddo. But here's something that crossed my mind is like, I kind of like mommy, and I wonder, like, is it okay to be, because she's not a great parent in this book. I mean, there are scenes where she literally like something freaky's happening, she just leaves. And like, and is it okay to be a bad parent when your kid is 8 and then a genius parent when your kid is like 17? Like, do you have to be a great parent for every age? And like, do you have to be tailor made to be a great parent when they're a baby, a toddler, a teenager, a 35-year-old? Like, I could see mommy being an incredible parent to Bella when or if it was all, whatever. If Bella was 30. I can see her being an incredible parent to Bella, even if Bella was 17. And you know what? Mommy's not a great parent when she's 8. She's not a great parent, and it had me thinking like Daddo is an incredible parent when she's 8, but what might he seem to her when she's 17? If all these characters get to that age, I just want to, I don't want to tell you how this book ends either way. And like it's like a mommy brings up like a philosophical question for me of like, is she a bad parent or is she just a bad parent right now?
yeah. It's a crazy question because there are so many caveats and there are so many just avenues to go down. Because, I mean, first of all, it's like, who's even deciding what a good parent is?
Right,
That's the first problem that we have with this.
right.
And when you say, does does she have to be? Well, does anyone have to be anything? I mean, I think always in life we are going to have choices to make, and ultimately each choice will probably lead to a positive in one area, but there may be a negative in another. So I mean, if I obsessively concentrate on my writing, then one would hope, as we've said before, the more tickets you buy, the more stories you write, the more chance of success. So it's going to hopefully lead to more creative and financial success. But if I get so obsessed, it might mean that I'm then, neglecting my daughter. I'm not being a parent as much as I could be, but then there's a bigger picture that it will help secure her a better future. So, on the other hand, it's like, right, well, I could put more of my energy into parenting, less into writing. So I'm going to be more focused on the demands of today, but it might mean that there's a rockier future tomorrow. So I never think that there is such a thing as making the perfect choice or the only choice. You just have to decide, okay, what is the ratio? What is the split? What is it that you're going to do now? And actually, if you have parents such as we do in the book, where let's say, right, Daddo is good for like a younger child, and mummy is good for like a teenager and an older child. Well, as parents, you're a team, ideally. So, well, isn't that the perfect combination? Isn't it better to have, right, mummy will be good at this stage, daddy will be good at this stage? Because if you're both good for a younger child, well, then where's the support when they're older?
Yeah, and like another question that crossed my mind, and this is going to sound like silly, but it was like, which of the two would I want to go? Which of the two would I rather go get a drink with, mommy or Daddo? And I think the initial easy reaction is Daddo. Like, I mean, come on, you're gonna go and watch like the hockey game or something, and maybe he's gonna be a little high, and you're gonna be talking about music, and he's gonna say some pretty awesome far out shit, and but then I'm like, but mommy, like we could get into trouble that night, like that could be fun. Like, and I don't even mean like sexual. Or like, I mean, we could she might throw a bottle at someone, like that sounds kind of interesting to me too. And she just seems to be coming from. It's like she's coming from a sort of a naturally frustrated place or something with parenthood, and that would be an interesting thing to talk to her about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like so I don't. But it is interesting because you said Doug and Judy, which those two are complete assholes. I don't see mommy as an asshole. I see her as like someone who it was. This book is not like, mommy and dad are happy homemakers, and then something bad's in the house. This book is like somewhat modern. They don't have an open relationship, but I don't know that. I don't know that Daddo minds what's going on. And I don't even mean that in a kinky way or something. I mean it more like they're like best friends first, like this. In terms of like Ursula, like, an affair or something, right? Daddo would not be the kind of guy to say, this is a deal breaker, we're getting divorced. No, he would be like, Ursula, come on, what are you doing? Get your shit together. And like that to me is like a sort of modern relationship in a way. It's more modern thinking. It's not so like black and white. And I get the sense that Daddo truly, truly loves Ursula. And I get the sense that she loves something about him, but that his Pollyanna sort of irks her.
Yeah, I think the difficulty for Ursula is she's having enormous trouble loving herself, which is then making it hard to, have any love left. And then, of course, it doesn't mean that she doesn't love aspects of Dado. She clearly does, but, she's got so many internal issues that you almost have to make yourself right before you can have room for others.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Right, 100%. She's like an excellent example of that. And then like she also does things. Oh, hold on. Do you hear that werewolf at my door?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Allison,
Other mummy has
Allison,
shown up.
baby. Whoa, that's one of my dogs.
Yeah,
Follow, go lay down with mom. I'll be out in a minute. Baby, Allison. No, I hear the dog in the other room now. Uh-oh.
yeah.
Maybe that was Allison at the door.
Well, you never know, and
Oh boy, hold on. Give me 1 second.
okay, okay.
Hey guys. Hey, guys, no. Allison, what's going on?
This is the moment where we focus on Josh's screen, and then some toy or something just moves.
Yeah, fuck that.
Which is a throwback to the conversation with Todd Kiesling that
The monkey.
because of the yeah, exactly. Because of the order that things are released in, I may be referencing an episode that has not happened yet.
Yeah.
Why don't you, Tuli, you can hide under the desk. There's fireworks going on, and the dog. So now there is a dog under the desk. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
Thanks, Billy. I love you, buddy. Oh my god. I guess I should have been able to tell you were scared. Yes. So, well, man, but there was an exciting moment what was the very last thing before the werewolf arrived at the door?
So we were talking about parenting. We were talking about the fact that Ursula has a lot of issues that she hasn't learned to love herself yet.
That's what it was. Is that, but in a weird way, like later on in the book, she does some stuff where I'm like, F yeah. Whereas, so to me, it's not even about like the straight line of being like redemptive or not. It's not that. It's more, the whole book feels very, I don't know if layer is the right word, but it's more complex than that. It's not as black and white as like declarations of, love or mistrust or this and good and bad. It's like the whole book is beyond good and evil. I mean, I would even argue that incidents around, okay, a typical, and well, that's kind of a mean word, but many like possession stories I've read, that you'll have the family, then something's wrong with one of the people, and then the rest of the book is how do we get that thing out of this person, right? And those are some of my favorite stories ever written, and I would love to read another one right now. But I think that Incidents Around the House is putting a magnifying glass up to the part of that arc where the entire book is the entity's attempt to get in. The entire book is the entity's attempt to get in. And that's the question, and that's the answer that it's waiting for. And when you see it in that light, even that is in a sense beyond good and evil. It's like, that's what this thing does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's not quite as like Alien, meaning the movie Alien is like, it's like a killing machine or something like that. But like we're watching that thing trying to succeed in what it's after for like an entire novel. And so it would almost be like if you imagine Reagan, an entire novel of Reagan dealing with like Captain Howdy, that phase before possession. And if you can imagine an entire novel of like Captain Howdy standing in the kitchen doorway, Captain Howdy's using the Ouija board, Captain Howdy said this, Mom, and that's exciting to me. That's exciting to me to like, let's pause and just examine that. How long did it take the thing to get in? How did it get in? What exactly did it say to Reagan to get in? What were their interactions? The real difference with Incidents Around the House is that Reagan isn't the only one that sees it. So Bella isn't the only one that sees Other Mommy. I mean, Other Mommy, no, that's a spoiler. Let's put it this way. She doesn't care who sees her.
Yeah. I think that also, if you're talking about parenthood and things like that, it's real easy to go into this thinking, because Other Mommy is called Other Mommy, that there's a absentee mom situation going on with Ursula, it's very, very easy to fall into that. That is not what this story is about.
Right.
Other mommy is called other mommy for whatever reason, but it's more of they're like on the her and Bella are on the same level. I felt like that they were equals,
Yes.
and they both want something. Okay, and so I'm not trying to spoil anything, but other mommy is not a replacement for Ursula. Ursula is to some degree an absentee mom, because of what's going on in her life, and I think Michael hit it perfectly. She doesn't love herself. She's been through some shit. We find out, and and she was in a situation where love wasn't there, and then when she's found someone who actually does give a damn about her, she doesn't know how to react to that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And so she has to find this urge to protect her daughter. It's not like the Daddo's got it.
Yep.
He's got it. He's had it from the get-go. Ursula has to find it. And I think that's important because she has to dig down deep inside herself, and we get to see that very subtle transformation happen. So this is a story of where it works on multiple levels of transformation, of from every angle, But if you're going into it thinking, oh, this is a metaphor for an absentee mom and all that, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that. There's traces of that, but we're seeing a, like you said, a modern family,
Yeah.
a very very modern family, and it's handled in a very secular way,
Yep.
and I like that. Religion pays very very little attention to this story, and I thought that was really really good because when they do try to go that route, they find that door is closed,
Yeah. And
and
it's
they're
almost
like,
as
oh yes, fuck yes, yes.
yeah, yeah. Yes, totally, man. And I felt the same way while writing. I was like, well, they would have to at least go, right? I mean, you'd have to at least go. I was raised Jewish, and I would probably go to a freaking church if I saw other mommy in the house. Like I'd be like, does anyone here know anything about this?
Yeah.
There's the real Josh coming out. See, I got to try. I'm trying to keep myself down. No. So my favorite line of the book, and if this is a spoiler, get rid of it later, I guess. Bella is at Dan and Amanda's house. I think Daddo is there as well. Mommy pulls up. Bella's still in the living room. Daddo is at the front door. Lets Mommy into the house. And the two of them are walking up the hall. And Bella hears Mommy say, "It's not a woman." And that's my favorite line in the whole thing because what she's saying is it's also not a man and it's not a person at all what I saw in Bella's room.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's the moment where you're like, oh, exactly what you're saying. This is not some Coraline replacement of mom or inverse of mom or no. This is something that maybe had long hair, and that's why Bella calls it other mommy. Like this is not a replacement. This is not a metaphor for that. This is something in the house that for whatever reason Bella refers to as other mommy. And that's the extent of that quote unquote like link there. And you could argue philosophically, and we don't have to talk about this scene at all, but you could argue philosophically the beach scene kind of makes you question other mommy, other this, that kind of thing. Like what's other, what's not. But yeah, that's really the extent of that right there, man, is when because Ursula has seen other mommy by then and Daddo is not. And Ursula says, I don't even I think it just says not a woman. And we're supposed to, if if we're astute enough or something, we're supposed to be like, oh boy, wait a minute, what's in Bella's room? What's crouched next to the bed? What's sliding out on its belly out of the closet? What smells like a gas station bathroom in her bathroom? Like it's not a, like, what's she calling other mommy? Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, as the story progresses, we get to understand so much more about Ursula and her intentions, and of course, where she's coming from. So there is that transformation and that reveal of the authentic Ursula not trying to hide who she is,
Yeah.
being vulnerable. But I guess we don't see as much of a transformation in Russ, and it kind of makes me wonder what is he hiding or where are his limits? I feel there's more to Russ than we're seeing. I can't say much more than that.
I know. I know. I was like silent there. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I just I don't know, man. We're getting into dangerous territory now for people who have not read this book, and we
Well,
should
it's
have we should have a spoiler episode. It's like, if you've read this book, if you haven't read this book, you need to turn back now.
well, it's strange because it's not like this is like an Agatha Christie novel. It's not like this is like a twisty and turny, like it's not like it's The Sixth Sense or that kind of thing. And meanwhile, for some reason, it is difficult to talk about things beyond just the scenario, and I don't know why. It's like we've already said a number of things that you could argue are spoilers, but really they're like just part of the basic story of it, and it still feels like a spoiler. And I don't know what that is with this book. I haven't found. I've said it 3 times already, but like you guys are one of the first people I've talked about this. I haven't found the exact limits of the language or this kind of thing of exactly how to talk about incidents around the house. I almost feel like someone else wrote this. I honestly,
Right.
I almost feel like I finished this and sent it out to the editor, and then got it back. And when I was rereading it, I was like, "Who the was I alone in this office?" Yeah, yeah. This one
Yeah.
is special. I got the hardcover here.
Oh, yes.
I like the spine a lot on this one.
Ah, it's looking good. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I can't wait to reread it and to listen to the audiobook in its entirety, because this is a book that no doubt will benefit from multiple readings, because it's almost like you need to read it first to almost just get a grip of the rules in inverted commas, and what you're dealing with. So I can tell that rereading it is going to unveil other kind of layers, which is why it's so cool that we'll be having another conversation in about a week or so. And
Yeah.
there's probably going to be a ton of things that both Bob and I have noticed that we didn't notice on the initial read, or if not, didn't notice, then were illuminated. So, I mean, we've said a number of times that this is incredibly difficult to talk about, but I think we've done a pretty good job because we have effectively spoke about it for 1 hour and 20 minutes. So, not
Yeah.
bad for a book that you can't talk about.
Well, I mean, I know we're not done with this moment right now, but I just wanted to thank you guys so much. And Bob, even when we were off air, and you said to me that I should be ecstatic, like that actually just resonated with me. I was like, man, he's right. And I am excited. But something about the way you said that, I was like, man, don't, hold on to that, man. Like, hold on to that. Like, you should be ecstatic.
Mm.
Like, I mean, this is, I remember a long time ago, I was in Los Angeles and I was with a friend, writer. And I said to him, this was like 10 years ago or something. And I was like, you know what, Mike, you know what I want to do? I want to write the scariest book ever written, man. That's what I want to do. And he goes, oh, I'm kind of past like scares, I'm past like, and I totally not only did I respect what he was saying, I almost felt a little embarrassed for saying what I said, because I was like, I want to write the scariest fucking book. But he was like, I think I'm past scares. I want to write like, the meat of existence, and then and like the complexities, the ups, And I was like, yeah, that's what I meant. Me too, and then and then that I had already written Bird Box, and then Carpenter's Farm came along, and I was like, ooh, this one might be scarier than Bird Box. And listen, man, like a comedian that even has like a social message, right? Like George Carlin or others. What do you think thrilled him more than anything else? And I'm gonna guess it's when people laughed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the comedian, you could be talking about the heaviest, most meaningful, intelligent thing in the world, but what you go to bed like, yeah, is that they laughed. And as a horror author, I cannot help but feel the same way. Like I could have like an actual societal message or a take on modern life, whether that's sexuality or whether it's politics or whatever it is. But the thing that's really gonna be like, yeah, is if it scared someone, man. It's like there's this like root artist side of you that's like that's the biggest thrill in the world.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody says that a book you wrote scared them, it's like you made a good joke.
Yeah.
And so Incidents has, and I keep saying all three of them, but Bird Box, Carpenter's Farm, Incidents, have a real special place in my heart for that reason.
Mm-hmm. I think that the reason why that a lot of people who have been reading this book and will be reading this book are going to feel like this is one of the scariest stories that they've ever read is something that I figured out, and I know others have too. I'm not the only one. I didn't come up with this, but you have effectively scared the shit out of your characters, and that's it. In other words, that empathy flows. It's the wind. It's called empathy. And when you scare the shit out of your characters and you're reading that and you get into the story, you can't help but to be scared. I I was scared for them because they were scared.
Yeah.
And that's when you tap into that's what makes it. That's really what makes it is you got some characters that are genuinely because of the events and the things that they've witnessed has scared the shit out of them. And when we read that and we get scared, we're getting scared in a way that is safe for us. Especially, people who love horror, that we have our own fears. And so I'm reading this book, but I have a safety net because I know it's not real. And that's the thrill of it. And so, when we get scared like that, I get giddy because it's like I
Oh
want to
yeah.
tell everyone you got to fucking read this
Oh,
book.
oh yeah. Yeah.
I get giddy and excited about it.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
And it's just I know Michael's probably the same way. It's it's like it's be like Daddo and mommy going around. Hey, you know anything about the occult? Be like, have you ever heard of Josh Malerman? He just wrote this fucking book that comes out next week, and you need to read it. And it's like that. That's a giddy feeling, man. It's that's what we. It's it's the shit, man. That's the shit. That's what we want. I know you have to watch. See it on the video. You see you can see. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like this like hot there was a Ramsey Campbell book where this scene happens like in a basement and clay figures. I think it's The Doll Who Ate His Mother, I think is the name of the book. And the scene fucked me up, man. Where like that hot feeling going up your arm, and I was like, oh geez. And I'm like, again, Allison, hey, what are you up to? What are you doing? And like you scare yourself, And like that's happened a few times where there's certain books that are an undercurrent of dread, and I would say Pen Pal is that. I would say I'm thinking of ending things as that. I would say The Loney is that. But then there's other ones that have. It's almost like just a. Typically, it's like a scene or two from a book you love, where you're just like, ooh, oh boy. One for me is when Pennywise takes a bite out of the dude's armpit at the beginning of it, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
he took a bite out of the armpit air, like by the heart or something, like something about that. You're just like, ugh, like where like it got all the way, under, man. And
Mm-hmm.
those moments you want to tell your friend just like you want to tell him a fucking joke.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the scene in Ramsey Campbell's Parasite when we there's a basically a half formed figure crawling on the floor
Oh yeah,
and stuck with me
is that when
forever.
they go into like that house, like the group of them go into that house, and it's like the room upstairs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that
That.
was freaky, man.
Yeah.
He can do
Or,
that. He pulls that off, man. And to me, again, that's like that ultimate thing. It's like I could read an entire book, and I don't know if I love it or not. I don't even know necessarily. But if you can touch that spot, like
mm-hmm.
for me, it's like, dude, that's it.
Yeah, that's the good shit.
That's
As
the
we
good
call
shit,
it,
man.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you feel it, but for me, I think this is a milestone moment for you. And, you're only just at the start of that. You're living that moment right now. But I'm going to go on record to say I think this is going to be the most significant thing to have happened for your career since Bird Box. I think that this is going to absolutely explode in terms of the impact, and it's not just about like a book release. It's about how to scare people. It's about tapping into this universal fear. So yeah, I think you're not even aware of what's happening right now and what you've created, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't wait to see the fallout from it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, me too. It's funny. I look at incidents like we were saying before with this like I don't want a listener to think that I'm being egocentric, but with this weird respect, where it's like I'm like looking at I look at the book like it's almost like it's almost like I can feel the wind from the book. And when I say wind to the listeners, I'm sure you understand, but just to make sure, I'm just saying there's an open window. I'm saying there's an open window and there's a cold wind blowing through this book. I'm not saying like a wind, like an actiony gust of wind, man. I'm talking about like, is there a draft in here? Yeah, there's a draft in this whole book, man. Yeah. Incidents
Yeah.
around the house. Wow.
Well, I can't wait to talk further about this and to talk further about your other projects because there's a lot of other things going on with you. But I know we're going to close out this particular episode. So, as always, thank you again for chatting with us. This has been so fun, and my goodness, what you've done with incidents around the
Mm-hmm.
house. It's incredible. It's affected me. It really
Yes.
has.
Wow. Thank you both, man. And going into the reading tomorrow. Wow, am I glad to have had this conversation. I'll come back to it again, Bob. That one moment off air when you were like, you should be ecstatic, and like, sometimes someone will say something to you and it takes root immediately. You don't have to think
Mm-hmm.
about it, and that did right there. So thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. It's. I think that, like what Michael said, this is a milestone book. It is. It really is. It's not. It's not just another book coming out. You knocked it out of the park, man. You had a grand slam home run, uh, using baseball metaphors.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a
But
sport.
yeah, and just like the Rangers had today. Yes. So, and it come at the right time, and man, just wish you all the success with this because I think it's going to blow some minds.
Right on. Amazing. Okay.